All right. So welcome everybody to the first 2018 First in Michigan Rookie Conference Call. My name is Jason Marcassino. I'm from Team 27, Team Rush. Then I'll go ahead and let Brandy and Clint introduce themselves.
My name is Brandy Bollinger, and I am the lead team organization mentor for Team 2337 out of Grand Lake.
My name's Clinton Bollinger. I'm in charge of the robot related engineering type stuff for Team 2337. I'm also the field coach at events for our team. This will be our team's 11th season. So.
Awesome. And Jason, is Kyle on, or is she planning on hopping on?
I am not sure. I think Courtney may still be in town, so she may be trying to do something with her.
Awesome. Well, all the rookies
that was yesterday.
We'll get a guest spot from Kyle occasionally. So for the most part, it'll just be Jason and Clinton and myself, Brandy, on the calls each week, and then every once in a while, Kyle will hop on and give her 2 cents, which is always exciting to hear.
Yeah. So format-wise, this year we're doing it a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We're going to try to send out kind of a weekly checklist on things that you should be working on or should try to accomplish in that week, and then we're going to try to open up this time period to allow you to just kind of ask questions based on those things. Before we did kind of a formatted agenda, which worked well, but we really didn't have a whole lot of time for questions at the end. So we're going to kind of flip the script and try to take questions from you earlier. And if there's no questions, then we may go into a couple things based on the topics we talked about earlier. So does anybody have any burning questions? Okay. Yeah, well, I guess that worked really well.
So, well, I want to start, Jason, with talking about just getting ready for Saturday.
Yeah,
a couple of logistical things that we want to get ready for Saturday, and then maybe once we get the ball rolling for that, a couple questions might pop up from that. Because I have a feeling right now the teams, you guys might be able to talk about this, is the fact that there's so much to know you don't know what you don't know since it's the first call.
So I guess, does everybody know where they're going for the kickoff on Saturday to pick up their kits?
Is there anyone who does not know?
Yes, yeah, probably that's a better way to phrase it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's awesome.
Good.
That's step one there. Okay, so the next thing that we want to talk a little bit about is what you have to do in order to get ready for Saturday. So depends on where you guys are going for kickoff. There are different kickoffs all over the state, and some of them are run by different teams, some of them are run by different schools or universities. And going to the kickoff, there's going to be a ton of teams there. It might be a little bit overwhelming for you guys at first, but just know that kickoff is one of the most exciting days when it comes to First Robotics season. So everybody's going to be abuzz. I say that the students at kickoff are like bunches of little kids at Christmas time. And I think some of the adults that are there are just as excited, if not more excited, than the kids. So if you are one of those people, it's okay. You just need to remember that, you know, we're all there for the students, and giving the students a positive experience is your #1 priority. However, being the adult that's in charge of your teams, there's a lot of things that you need to do logistically and behind the scenes in order to ensure that your day for you and your team is a success. So between now and then, which I know is only just a couple of days away, you need to work on finding out who all is on your team. Which students, which mentors do you have? And for some of you guys who may just be getting started after winter break coming back, this is going to be a little bit of a chore for you, but just try to do the best that you can. One thing that we always tell rookie teams is that your first year is really hard, but as long as you're showing effort and you're doing the best that you can, there are tons of people in the first community that are going to help you. Some of you guys have worked personally with Jason or Kyle or Clint or myself, and you guys realize that in the first community, we really are this huge family that just wants to ensure your success. So to start off with, find out who's on your team, who are your students, who are your mentors, and get them registered in the first Student Team Information Management System, the STIMS, and the Team Information Management System, the TIMS, for mentors and other adults on your team. So this is important because there's a consent and release form that you digitally sign by signing into STIMS, and will include the directions on how to sign in as a student and a mentor, and then you as the lead or secondary contact on STIMS and do what you need to do. We'll include directions on how to do that in the notes that we send out this week. So have everyone on your team sign up, and you have to go in as the primary or secondary contact and approve these people. So there's a button that'll say accept, and you need to go through and accept all of the people that apply to your team, so that if they're under 18, they need parent consent. So being able to accept them as their parents and sign them on is very important. Does anyone have a question on STIMS or TIMS or maybe?
Hey, Brandy, this is Pete. I'm having trouble hearing because someone's not muted.
Yeah, someone is got a lot of background noise from someone. Sounds like maybe they're walking or outside in a windy area. If you guys could all just mute your lines for me, please. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so if you guys have a question, feel free to unmute your line and ask your question. Other than that, please keep your line muted just to avoid background noise. So I kind of just went through what TIMS is, this Team Information Management System, and STIMS, the Student Team Information Management System. And basically, this is just an online giant database that first keeps with everyone, and there's a consent form that you sign on there to keep first from being liable for any bad things that happen to you. Basically, it's just a legal contract to allow you and your students and your mentors to attend events. It is required for all students and for all mentors that are on your team. Between now and kickoff, you need to try to get as many people on your team in STIMS and TIMS as possible. Does anyone not know what TIMS is, or not know what STIMS is, or not know anything about TIMS or STIMS that we can help you with? Don't be afraid to ask questions, because odds are if you have a question, someone else has the same question.
So just to give people an idea for STEMs, like one of the things that are required for this weekend to pick up your kit of parts is they're going to ask for your team roster, and to make sure that you basically have at least some people on that roster for you to pick up your kit. So the reason that we're asking if you know about it or if you need help with it is because come Saturday when you go to pick up your kit, you need to ensure that you have that team roster in order to pick up the kit and prove that you have people that have signed a consent and release form. And the best way to say it in a blunt way, I'm kind of a blunt person, is make sure you see all green check boxes. If you see green check boxes, they're going to give you your kit of parts. It doesn't matter if there's only like 2 or 3, let's say 4 students on it and maybe 2 adults. That's okay. You don't need to have your entire team on there at that moment in time. They want you to have it. You must have it eventually. But at least for Saturday, you need to have something to come in with so that you have that roster to be able to show them.
So the next thing that I was going to talk about is how to print this roster that Clint told you about. So once all the people, your students and your mentors, sign into TIMS and STIMS, it will automatically generate a roster for you once you've accepted these people. In the notes that we'll send out today, there will be directions on how to print off your roster and bring it with you. You do just need to be able to print this off and bring it with you. This is something that you don't want to forget. As Clint said, if you do not have a printed copy of your roster, they will not give you your kit of parts. So does anybody have any questions on TIMS or STIMS before we move on to what is this kit of parts thing that you're talking about, Brandy? All right, well, if you do, feel free to pipe in. All right, so what is this kit of parts? Basically, with the $6,000 that you pay to register your team, you're going to get your kit of parts. So for those of you who've been involved with other teams before, the rookie kit of parts is going to come with some additional components than veteran teams get. If this is your first year, then you don't know any better. You're going to get a big box full of stuff. There is not enough stuff, if you will, in this box to build a robot. You are going to have to purchase additional materials. You're going to have to do some fabrication and machining. You're going to have to do some building in order to build your robot.
Well,
so
yes, I mean, so what has maybe been told to you by people in general in the community will say, it has enough to build like a chassis, like a moving chassis, that's what you get. But it does not have enough to necessarily play the full game. We don't know what the game is until Saturday, but like, I mean, it's kind of like saying you can play soccer, but you don't have arms or legs, so you can be out on the field and wear a jersey, but you don't have manipulators to do anything with those game pieces, right? So as Brandy says, there will need to be additional fabrication to make a somewhat competitive robot.
So you're going to be getting this kit of parts on Saturday as long as you bring your roster. You guys will probably likely get 2 totes. They're large totes. I think they're what, like 18 by 24 by 36, and you'll get 2 of them, and they're really heavy. I think the numbers, I don't know all of it off the top of my head. It's 2 totes that are about the size that Brandy said. It is a box that I think is about 36 inches by like 5 by 5, another small box, some other long, 4-foot long pieces of things. They try to be very vague about what it is. So you're going to end up having probably like 6 to 8 different items that you're going to get with this kit apart that you're going to have to say, I did receive those, check a checkbox, fine to say that you received everything. But the 2 big items are those big totes. One tote is what every team gets, which is typically, I think, gray. And then the yellow tote is a rookie tote that only the rookies get. So if you're a rookie team, which we'll see on this phone call will be, you'll get that additional tote. So you are going to be responsible for bringing something to transport these things with you on Saturday. You might need a dolly, or a lot of students with arms, or like a furniture moving cart, something that's going to allow you to carry these things. One of the totes, they usually say weighs about 50 pounds, and one of them usually weighs about 30 pounds. And depending on where you're going for kickoff, you may have to park far away from where you receive your totes. So I would highly recommend that you bring a dolly or something similar to that for transporting your kit of parts. So what do you do with this stuff? Well, some of you guys may have seen some emails going out from Gail about there's these quick build workshops. The engineers host one up in Grand Blanc. Then there's one in Ann Arbor, a couple on the west side of the state, one in the south end of the state, and a couple up in the upper area of the state. And basically what it is you are going to go there with your box of stuff, and you're going to leave with a very basic moving robot. So if you guys are not signed up for a quick build, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do. Gail sent out an email with the information of how you can sign up for one. We can include that information in the email too. But basically, the kit of parts is a jumping off point for you. It's a boxes of materials to help you get started. And as Clint mentioned, there is enough in there for you to build a basic moving chassis. You'll get all the electronic components that you need to make a drivetrain work. You'll get motors and wheels and frame rails to make a drivetrain work. You'll get a laptop, a very inefficient but sufficient laptop that will allow you to drive your robot. And you'll get a bunch of other things from companies that donate things like motors and speed controllers and material and bumper kits, all sorts of different things. We can't tell you exactly what's in there because we don't know. We're just going off information that we've received before. But for those of you who don't know what the kickoff kit includes, that's what you're going to get with it. Does anyone have any questions on the actual kit of parts? Okay, if you do, feel free to jump in. Okay, so what is this kickoff broadcast thing that they're going to be talking about on Saturday? Basically, it's a video that FIRST, which is located in New Hampshire, puts together to build up anticipation in release of the game. So each year the game changes. So each year they make a really big deal about announcing what the game is for that year. And all teams all around the world find out what the game is at the same time. And all the teams all around the world have the same amount of time to build their robots. So even if you are someplace where you're going to get dumped on in snow and school gets canceled, you don't get to make up an extra day. The robot has to be done and built by February 20th at 11:59 p.m., regardless of how often you meet or where you meet or how many students you have or how many snow days your school has. That is the hard and fast deadline. So at the kickoff, they will show a video that talks about the sponsors who make FIRST possible. They're going to show some teaser hints. Wade Flowers and Dean Kamen and Don Bosey and Frank Merrick and all the other people who are part of the FIRST headquarters crew will be giving speeches, and you're going to sit there for a long time and listen to a lot of stuff. And then the last probably 15 minutes or so of the broadcast is when they'll reveal what the game is. Now, a couple of important notes that you need to consider is they're going to show a video and they're going to do some talking about what the game is. That what they say on that broadcast and what you see in the video may not be 100% accurate. There's going to be a rules manual that comes out, and a robot manual, and an awards manual, and a safety manual, and an arena manual, and this insanely large manual with all of these pages. You need to read it, okay? Because that is going to give you the information that you need in order to start your build season. If you don't understand the rules to the game, you will not know how to play the game, and you may design a robot or come up with a strategy that's not within the parameters of the rules. So on Saturday, it's my advice to you to print off the manual. They will, at the end of the broadcast, unlock the manual. It's on their website right now. It's encrypted. They will unlock the manual, and you can print it or download it, look at it on your iPad, your laptop, your phone, print it off, put it in a binder, however you and your team want to do it. But make sure that you have access to the rules, and your students and your mentors on your team have access to the rules on Saturday after the kickoff. It's going to be a really exciting time, and nobody wants to read the rules unless you're really nerdy like the Engineers. Students don't want to read the rules, mentors don't want to read the rules. They want to jump right into design, right into building, right into doing things, but you need to read the rules first. So does anybody have any questions about what the actual broadcast itself entails? No? Okay. Well, that is pretty much leading up to Saturday and Saturday itself. Some teams choose to have a strategy session afterward or attend a quick build on Sunday. So if you're planning to attend a quick build on either Saturday or Sunday, some things that you need to know are where you're going. There are a lot of quick builds around you, and just because you signed up for one doesn't mean that you necessarily signed up for the right one. I know that our quick build in Flint, we've had a lot of people who didn't realize that there was one closer to them, and they've deregistered for ours and registered for another one. So make sure that you're signed up to go to one of those. It's a great resource for rookie teams and veteran teams alike. We have 40 teams that attend ours up at Kettering University, and about 50% of them are veteran teams and about 50% of them are rookie teams. So if you do not have a spot right now at a quick build and you need one, we do have spots available. Our website right now says that we are full, but we reserved a couple of spots for the teams that are on this call in case someone needs to get into one. If not, then make sure that you know what's going on. You know where your team is meeting you. You know, and this is for Saturday as well. Make sure your team knows when and where they're supposed to meet, what they're supposed to bring, and if they're supposed to bring food or not. It's a long day. It's a really long day, and it's a really exciting day. So you just need to think about these things in advance. So for Sunday, my advice is read the rules. Even if you read them on Saturday with a fresh set of eyes, make sure that you're reading them again on Sunday, and make sure that you're really inspecting every aspect. There's going to be examples in the rules. There's going to be explicit things you can do and explicit things that you can't do in the rules, and you need to make sure that you pay attention to that. Hey, Clint, you want to take over for just a second? Tom just walked in.
Sure, I can take over. So with the rules, like Brandy said, you're gonna want to read those. A common practice that we suggest to our students and mentors when they're reading through the rules is if you find an item in the rules that you might question or not fully understand, we try to tell our students to, if it's a printed out version, highlight it. If it's electronic version, maybe, in a little notepad or something, write down the rule number and kind of the question about it, because that's going to help you so that if you talk to, us on this conference call or later on, first, eventually we'll open a Q&A website, so you can go on there and ask, questions, and then first we'll give you direct answers about that. It's going to allow for you to be able to easily find all those rule clarifications that you need in order to make sure you're building, not only a legal robot in terms of the components on the robot, but also a legal robot in terms of things that are allowable in this year's game that might be unique to only this game. Like I said, a lot of times, like we said, we try to get all of our students to read it. A common practice that I do with our team is when we're talking about rules and things, and what I will do Saturday night is I will read through the whole rules myself, so I have a general idea of the rules, and as we go through the season, I keep reading more of them and going back to them and reviewing them. And whenever I have a student who says, hey, can we build a hovercraft? And, the hovercraft's going to be, 5 foot by 5 foot. Can we build that? I go, is there a rule that lets us do that or doesn't allow us to do that? And I try to put the ownership on the students to understand those rules just as much as I should understand those rules, so that they can seek it out. And if it is an explicit rule that says you cannot have a hovercraft or you could not have a robot that's bigger than 5 feet or whatever that rule may be, have them seek it out, have them find it so that they're learning more. And then I try to encourage my students, hey, if you know the rules, we can have conversations about the game strategy and what we're going to do because you understand those same rules. The example I always give to people is if you try to say, hey, today we're all going to go play soccer, but no one's ever read the rules of soccer, the first thing you're going to do is pick up that ball, you're going to throw it into the net with your hands and say, wow, soccer's an easy sport, why do people play this game, right? But if you understand the rules, you realize that you cannot use your hands in soccer because that is explicitly disallowed in the rules of soccer. So anybody have any questions about kind of the manual and rules about the robot? I definitely figure that you should really make sure people understand the game, but there is a whole other portion about the robot itself too. Anyone have any questions? Anybody being overwhelmed by the things that we are telling them at this moment?
I'm back, by the way. Have we lost
anyone? I don't know. Anyone want to say that this is super easy and we don't need to talk this stuff? I'm just kidding. My guess is a lot of people might be overwhelmed. I don't know, because this is only we're having these conference calls just shortly before the kickoff. We do hope that everyone obviously calls in every week because we're going to talk about things that might be very pertinent to this year's game. This week is kind of hard for us because we don't know what the game is. We don't know what stuff to talk about. But on these conference calls, we're going to talk about certain rules to make sure, hey, watch out for this rule, because if you don't pay attention to this specific rule, you're going to go to competition, and then the inspectors are going to check over your robot and say, this is illegal, you don't have this. And they're going to say, before you can go out on the field, you've got to fix it, which might mean cutting your robot, shrinking your robot, chopping it up, removing large items that your whole robot's designed around. So, like, really honestly, try to call on these calls for those clarifications and so that you can ask questions so that you're more prepared for the build season and the competition season this year.
And I think that, you know, between Jason and Clinton, both of which, Jason, you were a student on Team Rush like a long time ago, right?
Yep, back when we started in '97.
And then Clint was a student on a team in high school. I was not involved in robotics in high school, but so Clinton and Jason, I think, offer a really unique perspective as a coach who's been in students' shoes. So each week when you guys join us for these calls, hopefully you guys are going to learn something. So what we're going to try to do each week is open it up for questions for you guys, but we're also going to try to guide you each week because a lot of times, again, you guys don't know what there is to know because you don't know what there is to know. So we'll be guiding you through tasks each week that you should be doing to keep your robot on task, as well as to keep your logistics, your organization, your operations on task as well. So,
hey, Brandy, real quick, going back to the kit of parts, let's take a couple minutes and talk about first choice and the virtual kit of parts stuff.
okay.
So with that, along with the boxes that you're physically going to get on Saturday, there's a couple different additional areas where you can get parts to build your robot. So we're going to include the kit of part website. On that website, there's information about the virtual kit of parts. So there's multiple different vendors where you'll get a password when you sign into your Team Information Systems, Team Information Management System, your TIMS account. There'll be passwords that you can log in to these different vendors and get certain things from them. So I just closed it. 1 second, let me open it back up again. So things like software, like Autodesk, you can download design software that you can use. There's also, where was that? Sorry, I'm in the wrong section. There's pneumatic cylinders that you can order. There's different electrical components that you can order from these different vendors. So rather than send you parts that you may or may not use, they just give you a voucher or a gift certificate, basically, that you can use on their website to order parts that you may need. The other thing is what. Go ahead.
Real quick on that point, I highly recommend people that even with these vouchers, these virtual vouchers, even if this year, let's say you don't plan to use pneumatics, but one of the vouchers is for some pneumatics, I highly recommend as a rookie team you take advantage of that and get some kind of pneumatics. Have your students say which ones look awesome, bring them in so that you have them, even if you don't plan to use it this year, because you never know if that next year you might end up using pneumatics or having a couple pieces or something like that. So try to take full advantage of all these vouchers that are available to you to be able to get the most out of your kit of parts, which, you know, is the money that your school or sponsors paid for, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's usually one of my jobs during the first couple of days after kickoff is I go through all the vouchers and say, oh, we've got a voucher for Automation Direct, so what do we want to get out of there? So they sell like small pneumatic regulators and small pneumatic gauges, so we usually buy those. You know, or DigiKey, maybe we buy cable ties. So there's always something to buy, and like Clint says, don't let that free money go to waste. In addition to the virtual kit, there's also First Choice, which is run through AndyMark. So what that is kind of a similar thing. There's all these companies that want to donate something, and let's say they have 50 widgets. Well, there's thousands of teams, and this company can only donate 50 widgets. So what they do is they put the widgets on First Choice. And each team has a certain quantity of points that they can use And if they think, yeah, I want to put this widget or use this widget on my robot or get this widget for my team, they can use their points and basically purchase that widget from the First Choice catalog. So before the season started, there was what they call the First Choice priority list, where you could go through the website and choose the things that you're interested in to use your points. And then what they did was they took those lists, and then depending on how many of each of the things they had, they would award those to the certain teams, and those, I believe, have gotten sent out. Starting on Saturday, they'll open another round of, if you want to call it purchasing. So you'll send a secondary priority list, and then after that, they'll send out the things that you were awarded during the second priority list time. And if you don't get something, or don't use all your points in that priority list, you can also use them during a normal ordering time, which is basically from the 19th of January through the end of the season.
Yeah, and
so
just
again,
to let
that's
people
another
know
thing.
is I wanted to say, like, if you didn't participate in round one of the First Choice priority, all this, because, like I said, a lot of you guys are new, didn't know about this maybe, all those points that you had round one, you still have those points in your account. You're going to get your login information from Tim's of what your username and password is to log into firstchoicebyandymarket.com, and you'll be able to use those points. So don't think you missed out on round one and you lost that. You're still going to have those points. Some of the items might no longer be available anymore, but you still will have those points to spend. A lot of times in round two, game pieces, you know, maybe like a part used on the field or something, that is typically available in round two. So maybe you get some more game pieces because you only get like one or two in your, we don't know how many you actually get, but you might only get one, say, in your kit of parts, and you want additional ones for practice. You can get that, spend points on it. I will say, how do I say this in a nice way? Like, buyer beware of the First Choice pieces. Just because there are bearings on First Choice, I would try to caution you at just getting bearings and getting stuff off of there because, I don't know, we're going to use these bearings and we're going to make these bearings work. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get some inventory that, like, the good example is like a bearing that's metric, right? A lot of times in First from either, you know, Vex Pro or Andy Mark or something like that, the bearings that they use on their websites are all like standard sizes, so they're non-metric sizes. So if your team picks up these metric bearings and start to use them, when you go to an event and say something happens, you lose that bearing or you need a replacement or you want to make, you know, more parts, your bearing might not be compatible with like the rest of the teams at the event, and it might be harder to find pieces. This might be a little too much into this, but I just always caution people at just buying random things and making it work, because in the long run, it might actually be making it harder for your team to, you know, I guess get functional and get everything going because of the other sources that teams use to build robots. I don't know if you can iterate more on that, Jason, or the point I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, and yeah, so again, some of these components, like I said, are kind of 10 widgets that a team might, or that a company might have. So they may not be, they may be discontinued. So like Clint was saying, certain things like bearings, you might want to shy away from. There's actually was a list in the document that we sent out of things that you could try to look toward getting. Things like a multimeter. You're going to use that every season. Yep. It's basically a tool that you're going to use. There's you know, no chance of it not working for you, I guess, or not being able to fit on your robot because it's a tool that you're going to use.
What we could probably do is after once the new round 2 comes out, what we can try to do is put together another priority list based on the current stock levels of what's available and what's not available for priority. and we can send that out in an email to everyone to say, hey, these are kind of some, if you don't know what to get, just put these in your cart, and getting those are probably going to be, you know, a solid choice because it'll be able to be used year after year, you know, like tools and stuff like that. Or these are pieces that this piece goes on the robot every year. A good example is speed controllers. If there's speed controllers available on there, get some of those because you use speed controllers, and you know the speed controllers that are on there are usually, you know, very good quality and it's what everyone else already uses. So we'll try to put together a list for everyone to try to help people through that.
Is there any questions on that?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
So the first choice, I put a list together and I submitted it, but you said that they should be shipped out already. If I don't have mine, who should I contact?
You did your priority list? You did a priority list, or you did the open ordering before?
I did the priority list.
Did they give, was there any confirmation from the website to say, like, did you, I guess a good example, did you actually put in a credit card information for the shipping costs and everything? You did that portion of it?
Yes.
Okay. Did it give you like a confirmation email saying, hey, we got your priority list in your email? Did you receive that portion as well?
I'll have to go back and look, but I think so.
Okay. So the other thing, the only other question is, you know, whether you reply to the rookie conference call or send an email back to us, is to find out what date that was, because what might have happened is you may have created that priority list after round one, so the round one shipments are quote unquote over for now, and that priority is going to continue into round two, right? So we would just try to have to find out when you submitted that priority list and you actually completed everything, right?
Yeah.
To see if you got into round one or round two, okay? Because what might have happened is you might have just filled it out and they already did round one and they're just waiting. They're keeping your information. Your priorities are still saved, but that's going to be saved and then processed during round two. So the concern there, not concern, not real big, but, you know, they're going to maybe add some stuff that you might want to rearrange on Saturday or Sunday in your priority list to say, well, actually, now that I know the game, I want this to be higher in my priority, and I haven't completed that list yet, so I'm going to rearrange my priority so that during round two, I actually get those other items instead and spend the rest of my points.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay? Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Quentin Brady, did you have anything else that you wanted to go through?
I've been talking away over here, not even realizing my microphone is muted.
Oh.
So one thing, you know, even if you have questions about things that we're not necessarily talking about, if there's something that you're concerned about or something that you want us to cover in more detail or something that, you know, you're wondering if we're going to cover, you can feel free to ask us a question about anything, and we're going to try to let you know. Either we can talk a little bit about it now or let you know when we're going to go in depth. What we really try to do here on the Rookie Conference calls is give you enough information without overloading you. We try to talk about things like that are current needs and then needs that are coming up, and then we also kind of try to do like a long-term thing. So if there's something, you know, that say needs 3 to 4 weeks lead time or a week lead time, we try to inform you guys of those dates when they're coming up. So is there anything that anyone wants to know anything about? Okay, then I wanted to touch some of the teams in here. I wanted to make sure that you guys are going to a quick build. So 6958, the Michigan Math and Science Academy, you guys are signed up to come to the Flint Quick Build with the Engineers. 7056 in Fowlerville, you guys are signed up to come to the Quick Build with the Engineers. Bill, are you guys for 7178, are you guys planning to go to a Quick Build or are you guys good? You guys have been building robots for a long time, but.
I think Bill jumped off the call.
Okay. All right. Let's see who we got here. 7203 at Battle Creek. Are you guys going to a Quick Build?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys going to the one in Grand Rapids? Or which one are you guys going to?
I believe there's one in East Lansing.
Okay.
When's the Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids is a week later.
Okay. Awesome. 7211, Jeremy, you guys are signed up to come to the one in Flint. All right, and then 7221, Tom, are you guys signed up to go to a Quick Build? Did we lose Tom? Okay. Is there anyone else on the call who has not signed in with Jason yet? If so, you can unmute your line. Please tell us your team number first and then what your name is.
I joined the call late. It was
Okay.
6490, Jeremy Jones.
All right. Hi, Jeremy. Jeremy's the second.
Hi,
All right. Any other teams that have not signed in yet?
If you're having a hard time talking, there is if you're on the computer, I guess there's the chat option you could use. If for some reason your audio is not working.
Okay, well then I guess I have a pretty direct question. What are you guys most excited to learn from these rookie conference calls? What is one thing that you are anticipating coming out of these calls with? Feel free to unmute your line and just give us a little bit of advice of what you as a first-year coach are looking to gain from these calls.
Hi, we're just basically looking for information on how to be successful in doing this. This is our first time doing this, and we don't have backgrounds in engineering, so whatever tips that you can provide us to be successful would be great.
Okay, what's your name?
Larry.
Hi, Larry. It's very nice to meet you. How did you get involved with FIRST Robotics? Are you a teacher at a school or?
I'm actually an administrator in the school district that we work in. I oversee the after-school programs for our district. And so myself and my assistant director, we are serving as the coaches until we could find one. So if we weren't able to find a coach, we're going to serve as the coaches so that the students can get the experience.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you do. That's phenomenal.
So one of the things, like, just to let you know, is that, like, you can most definitely compete in this competition without necessarily needing an engineering or robotics degree or background or anything like that. And most of that comes with just understanding what your team's capability and resources are and building within those means. To be honest with yourself of what you think your team can do in the time frame you're given to build this robot, and build, you know, a strategy that's going to work for your team. Just because you're in this robotics competition and this will be your first year doesn't necessarily mean you can build a robot like Team Rush, who's been doing it for over 20 years, or like our team, who's been doing it for 11. Each of our teams, both veteran and rookies, have their own unique problems and capabilities and resources. And working within that is probably the biggest thing to take away from it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, I mean, our hope here is to help you have a, more successful, less stressful season, and for us to go week by week to make sure that, you're kind of taking a deep breath and making sure that your checklist gets done and providing you with resources of where to go to find things, where to go to order things, where to go to pretty much find any bit of information that you need. So starting next week, we're going to go with the calls on Thursdays. So we're going to do, what did we say, 5:15 to 6:15? Are we going to stick, does this time work for people? 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock? What sounds good?
Good. 5:15. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Pausing sounds good.
Okay. And what we also, Jason records all audio for these, and then we post them, and then we also send out notes. So if you can't make it one week, we send out the notes, but we do really encourage you to come on to the call because there may be something that you really need to know about or you really want more clarification on, and we really encourage you to ask those questions while you're on. So I promise future calls will not be just silence when we ask questions, because probably starting on Saturday, you are going to have a lot of questions. You're going to want to know everything about everything, and we're going to be here to help you. And Jason, you want to talk a little bit about the office hours that we're planning on doing?
I guess I thought we were going to use this as our office hours.
Sure. Okay.
So, yeah, that was kind of the reformatting idea, was that you guys would come with the questions and we would kind of just open it up rather than do presentations. So we'll see how that kind of goes. We may, again, do like we kind of did this week, present a little bit of information and ask for any questions that you may have. I just had something that I totally blanked. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, so the 5:15 works better for me because that at least gives me a chance to try to get out of work and up to the high school.
Perfect.
So I think that'll work out better than 5.
Okay.
So yeah, so as Brandy was saying, I'll send out the link to the recording. So if you reference any of this information, and then we'll probably send out some additional notes from this meeting and from the questions that came up. Again, does anybody have any other questions? All right, so good luck. Enjoy kickoff on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
If you guys have any questions between now and next Thursday, the document that Jason sent out does have our email addresses. Feel free to send us an email. We're pretty good about answering questions, and if we can't answer it, finding you the answer to it. And then also there's a link in the form that Jason sent out that has an option to include more people on your mailing list. So if you have responsible students or other mentors or parents that are helping out with your team, fill out that form and we'll make sure that they get the emails also. And then in addition, if you can't make the call, but maybe some of your students can come on, or some other mentors or parents on your team that are going to be highly involved with the team can come on, it's better that you send a representative from your team than no one at all. So that's something that we really highly recommend also. Any last questions before we sign off for tonight? Is there anyone else who didn't sign in before we sign off?
I will say I wish everyone success, because luck is given and success is earned.
All right. Well, everybody take care and have a happy kickoff. We'll see you at first power up.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.